Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Alhamdulillah, wa salatu wa salamu ala rasulillah wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'een. We back telling us, we back on the storytelling. Fresh out of the joint, going back to the roots. Going back to the roots. This is where a lot of it began when I was a kid. This is where my developmental stages happened. All this helped develop the monster that I had turned into. And the story is real. Y'all don't know YouTube. It's Brick City, Winton, Terrance, Cincinnati, Ohio. This is a part of the story. When I was young, my mama used to work a lot. So when my mama used to work a lot, she had my auntie and them, they used to babysit us. So when my auntie babysitted us, you know, this where we used to play at. This is where I spent my childhood at. It's where I learned how to fight, where I learned how to play basketball, football, backflips. We used to tumble right here in that lot back there. We used to tumble, go hard in it. The old heads used to sit back and roll back money and bet on who was going to do the most flipping. Me and my little cousin from out here, Lil Roy, he used to, me and him used to win it all the time. I wanted to bring everybody to give them a feel of the hood and how it feels to. I want y'all to see the scenery as opposed to just seeing the people. Let's go. Let's let the sister by. Excuse me. But these are the conditions that people endure, that our people endure. As y'all can see, we're in the projects. Some of the rent out here is like $20 if they have to pay any rent. So that just goes to tell you that there's a lot of financial suffering. There's a lot of economic suffering, and that's the number one reason. This is the number one reason why people make the decisions that they make. A lot of people judge from the outside in, and why they judge it from the outside in of why young black males make the decisions that they make, how could they commit a murder, how could they commit a robbery, how could they, all the stuff that we see on the news on a daily basis. Well, this is it right here. The conditions are very, very harsh. And when you got a whole bunch of people, I don't care if they black, white, yellow, or green, concentrated all in one area with limited resources, and then you got the government coming in, entities in the government coming in and exploiting the situation for just their own pockets. You get crime. So crime and criminals are made. It's not a thing to the point where black males or inner city people or underprivileged people are basically degenerates. The DNA is not. The DNA of them is not. It's not crooked. That's what I'm trying to say. And sometimes we get the pressure of making us feel like that this is who we are on the inside of our hearts. But when you got a lot of people concentrated in one area, there aren't any jobs over here, so that means that people can't work. People have to travel. If they don't have money for rent, then how in the world do they have money for a car? And if they ain't got money for a car, then how can they drive so far away from here to try to get to work? So this creates, especially in the females and the women, it creates promiscuity and makes them exploit themselves sexually. And this makes the guys, it makes them give into the bribery from entities inside the government of selling drugs. And drugs and guns are brought here. None of these guys that come from this area, none of these guys have boats. They don't know, people from South America where they can bring the drugs in and ship them all the way right here to these projects. They don't have that. So we know that there's some governmental forces involved in that conspiracy of crime that's mostly related to drugs. So the fact of the matter is, being inside of an environment like this puts people up under certain types of pressure, and it limits their their options. And every single day is a survival. Literally every single day is a survival. So when you have so many people concentrated in one area, and like I said, there's no money, then it's a competition for the little bit of money that is circulating out here, and most of it, is coming from drugs. It's a competition. So with that competition, it's not fair. So since it's not fair, that means that everybody is not going to make it. So the ones that don't make it, they become the most savage individuals. These are the ones that these are the individuals who normally get their hands on one gun or two guns, and they go on robbing sprees, and they take down their targets, and a lot of times it doesn't work out the way that they like it to work out, and it turns into a murder. And then that creates a situation that's connected to another situation, and all types of trickery is involved. Y'all, I'm sure y'all have seen this, heard the stories, and seen the movies, but this is what fuels the crime. It's an economic oppression. It's not there's nothing wrong with black people, and I like to attest to that. I like to attest to that for the simple fact that when I come and spent my childhood in this type of environment, we're real hard, real hard. These dudes are the most fighting dudes in Cincinnati. Here in downtown Cincinnati, them guys I'm talking about, they beat you up all up the street, all the way down the street, and whatever else you want to do after that. That's because of the harsh conditions that's created. It makes a person stronger. Humans have an adaptability, and that adaptability can be in a good environment or it can be in a bad environment. So this is what builds the problems inside of the prisons. This is what builds what they call the prison overpopulation. It's not there's disparity that lives here, and the disparity that lives here is mental, it's physical, it's emotional, and it's most definitely financial. And this part, even though this is the middle, almost the middle of the city, this is the east side of Cincinnati. There are many areas, shopping centers and everything around here, but this is almost like cut off from the world. This is a world within its own, and a lot of people don't leave here, and if people do make it out of here, they don't come back. And if they don't come back, then whatever they did to make it, those good qualities that they dawned on themselves, in order for them to make it, the people here that get left here, they don't see that example, nor do they get that help. And a lot of people reach back and say, oh, they don't want anything for themselves, and so on and so forth. But a person becomes defeated, and when they get defeated, they become comfortable. So when they become comfortable, you can spend generations here. You can spend, the grandmother is here, the mother is here, the daughter is here. You got a lot of different. That's a real, that intergenerational poverty, especially in the projects. That's a real thing. And this type of pressure, this is a powder keg. And a nuclear bomb is formulating inside of these individuals, and the kids, the youth, the women and the men, they don't ask for any of this. So since they don't ask for any of this, they feel victimized from a young age, a very young age, and this is what makes them lash out. They feel like nobody care about them but their homeboys, because they the ones that's out here. They grow up playing ball together, and if one dude fight with the crew, then the rest of them fight. This is how they grow up, so they be cool. And then during these harsh conditions, on their own, and that becomes their crew. A lot of times it turns into gangs, it turns into cliques for drug selling or whatever the case may be, and that's just that becomes their family, because these are the people who are going through this struggle with them. So they become the only ones who really matter, even though, your mom and your dad, wherever he is, even though he care about you and they care about you, the situation is bigger than them. It's literally, this is all literally a product of government conspiracy. And that's much bigger than the ambitions of just being a man and the pride of just being a man. Because all of us, I know guys, I have kids, and I know guys who have kids. Nobody just leave their kids out here like this. They're just overwhelmed by the situation. And since they're overwhelmed by the situation, that that leaves the kids alone, and that's what makes them desperate. And when they become desperate, they do desperate things. And that's what often leads to prison. Same thing that happened with me in my situation. I was desperate. Pops was somewhere that couldn't be found. Moms was working 5 jobs, and it still wasn't enough. Doesn't make a difference. And we out here running around trying to make a way. This is why I seen my first bag of weed, my first bag of crack, my first gun. Seeing guys getting shot, seeing guys getting beat up, big old fights, rumbles, and the whole nine. This all plays on your mind. And when it plays on your mind, the fight or flight psychology takes over, even if you don't know that this took over like this. So that made a person, myself, that made a savage, and you lose the love for life, for your own life. So let alone you can't care for anybody else's life. So this is what makes you a danger and a threat to society. And then the government comes on TV and says that the local government comes and says that they're fighting crime and they're tough on crime and they're going to lock up these thugs and all these types of things as if we're monsters and we crazy people. But we're not monsters and we're not crazy people. We're just living up under harsh conditions that require this for survival. So my thing is, what turns an individual, what saves an individual from this savagery, from robbery, kidnapping, burglary, dope selling? What saves an individual from that type of mentality of savagery? The only thing that ever saved me and can save anybody else from this type of savagery is Islam. This what they call the foray right here. This used to be the spot. But as y'all see, it's a little bit dead now. It's a little different than what it used to be. So many generations of guys, coming and going, getting killed, and so much crime happening out here in this area. It's kind of a little bit dead now. But the only thing that could and that can and that will save minds of this sort and this condition is Islam. Once I sat down and I was in prison for a decade, the conditions got a lot worse. It got harsher. Because now I've lost everything. I'm a felon. So before I was black, I was a felon, I was poor, I was uneducated. Now I'm a Muslim, I'm poor, I'm a felon, I'm uneducated. You come fall into all these micro-minority categories, and it'll bring a warrior out of you. It brought a warrior out of me, and that made me started wondering, why are things like this? Like, I didn't ask to spend my childhood right here, see the things that I've seen, experience the things that I experienced. I didn't ask for any of that, nor has anybody asked for any of this. And it's much bigger than individual effort, like how they try to teach you in these public schools. Yeah, it can be individual effort if you live in an environment that's conducive for individual effort. But this and other environments like this are not environments that are compatible with individual effort. We didn't start the race off at the same spot. When we were given our freedom, they were much ahead, they were much ahead of us when we started the race off. When we was released in slavery, we got all stuff inside of places like this, with no jobs, no education, couldn't speak the language, didn't know the culture, didn't have any types of connections, up against people that have generations of wealth, generations of success. They've conquered other lands and conquered this land also, and expect us to be able to compete on the same footing. They didn't have anywhere for us to go. They didn't want us inside of their neighborhood, so they put us inside of places like this, and they call it the ghetto. And that whole mentality, that whole concept of being of the ghetto, that's a Nazi concept. And it's sad that, you know, brothers learn this terminology, and we say, you know, I'm from the ghetto, and, you know, all that type of stuff. But, you know, that was a place where degenerated, excuse me, not degenerated, but a despised race of people were placed, and oppression was orchestrated on these people, almost as if a science experiment or something. So we didn't ask for these conditions. We didn't ask to be poor. We didn't ask to live inside of this cloud of depression, which is a result of the orchestrated oppression. We didn't ask for any of this. So the only thing that woke me up as an individual and saved me from being a victim to from just being a victim. I don't want to say being a victim too, just being a victim overall and period. The only thing that saved me was when I was sitting inside of that cell, I opened up some books and I said, you know what, I'm gonna take my life back. I read. I picked up all types of books. I picked up psychology books. I picked up philosophy books. I picked up every type of book about religion. This is what made me. This is what brought me to Islam. And all I really wanted to know was why. Why are the conditions so harsh? I didn't ask for it. It's not who I am. It's not who I want to be. Why was my potential taken away from me before I actually had an opportunity? And Islam opened up my mind and told me, it taught me that humans have rights, God-given rights, and that there are people out here that do not respect the God-given rights to everybody. And the Islam brought forth concepts of justice, equality. It destroyed racism. It emancipated slavery. It freed my mind overall. And at this point, I've just been home a year from prison. But I figured out the way that life is supposed to be. And nobody, black, white, yellow, green, brown, should have to endure these types of conditions, go through what I went through, and go through what a lot of people are going through. A lot of guys are dying out here by the minute because there aren't any other options. So the concepts of justice inside of Islam, it set me aflame. And once it set me aflame, it kind of closed off my mind from everything that I had endured up until that point. And it freed me to the point where I now know what the true path is, and that true path must be brought down to me and my people. It's not being brought down to me and my people. For the most part, me and my people, we gotta go somewhere else. We have to go to what they call a so-called safe environment to go and get our minds right, or have some spiritual fulfillment, some type of education or anything. When in all actuality, it should be brought here. And that's what these efforts are about. But honestly, it will be a collective effort, a team of righteous, conscious-minded individuals that'll awaken and that'll make our people rise. But it'll only be with divine guidance. Everything else we tried, and you see the hood is still what it is. The project is still what it is. It's 2 churches. We passed 2 churches on our way up here. So it won't be anything other than the divine guidance of Islam, which mandates an individual commitment to compassion, to consideration, to love, to justice, to equality, to equity. That's what will cure our people. That's what will cure the people of the world of all of the facade that's inside of their hearts that'll compel them to do one thing or another. Inshallah, we're gonna do more videos, especially live from the hood as the weather is better inside of Cincinnati. But I wanted to bring everybody and give everybody a feel of really what goes on inside of our neighborhoods, and give some insight on how things get the way that it does. Inshallah, we'll pick up in the next episode, and this is the introductory episode to Live from the Hood. كل قول هذا واستغفر الله ولا إله إلا الله.